Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of My Thoughts Exactly. Thank you guys so much for joining me here today. If you're new here, hi, my name is Savannah and I'm your host of My Thoughts Exactly. And before we get started, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss an episode. We post weekly here on the podcast every single Friday. You're not going to want to miss it. We also upload the video version onto YouTube on Fridays as well. So make sure you are subscribed. And with that being said, you guys, happy Friday. I hope you guys have had a great week thus far. And if you haven't, guess what? It's Friday. It's a weekend. You did it. Happy Friday, you guys. We made it. We're here. Hello. I have had a pretty good week thus far. I can't complain really. It has been a shorter week. I will say that. On Monday, Hayden had a business trip in Atlanta and we decided to make a little fun, spontaneous trip out of it. So we went to Atlanta on Sunday. I had not been in Atlanta for years and years and years. The last time I was there, I think was for one of my sister's high school graduations. And so I had not been back in a while, but it was just fun to do something different, get out of the city for a little bit, get out of Nashville for a little bit and just explore a new place. And it was very spontaneous. You guys know me, type A. I love a plan. But when Hayden on Saturday night was like, do you want to go? I was like, well, this could be fun. And it was actually really, really good. So I'm glad that we did that, but it definitely has thrown my week through a loop and it has made the week seem a lot shorter. So it really, I don't know what day it is this week. I just have felt very discombobulated and all over the place, but we're surviving. And by the time you guys hear this, it'll be Friday. So that's already a step in the right direction. I do want to talk about my little experience last week that I told you guys that I was doing, which I told you last week that I was getting powder brows done. For those who are watching me on YouTube, you can kind of tell, I think, maybe. I'm going to get up close for you. Look at that, you guys. Okay. Let's talk about it. I got powder brows done, which if you don't know, powder brows are a form of eyebrow tattooing or like permanent makeup essentially because it's tattooing your eyebrows. And what I could tell the difference between microblading and powder brows, which again, I got powder brows, and this is from the woman who did my powder brows, which is Makeup by Justine. Absolutely amazing. Permanent Makeup by Justine. So much fun, by the way. It was a really cool process. But microblading more so is when they are tattooing hair-like strokes onto your eyebrows, whereas powder brows, it's more of that filled in, almost like makeup look. And when I say makeup look, it's like the makeup look that I like to do with my brows. I'm not a fluffy brow type of girl. I'm not a soap brow type of girl. We've talked about this before time and time again. I am just not that. I like my not thin actually. They're pretty full. I like my filled in brows and that's exactly what this is. And I get it 24/7 now. And I am so freaking happy about it. It was the best experience. I have been kind of experiencing which is very normal and as to be expected, just some dryness because it was a tattoo essentially, or not even essentially, like literally it was a tattoo. So having to kind of just, take some aftercare with that, which she gave me a whole kit. She gave me ointment and oil and all the little brushes and all of the things. So I'm very well equipped, but I am so happy I did it. I feel so much more confident. Like immediately when I got home, I was like, this is the best decision I've ever made. I am so in love with them and I think they look so good. And everyone who told me online that my eyebrows looked horrible, now you can, and that was no one here, by the way. It's just always on Killer Instinct. But, I'm very excited. I have not filmed Killer Instinct yet with my new eyebrows and I cannot wait to show the people. But anyways, it was a great experience. Highly, highly recommend if you're looking into it. And if you do ever, if you're contemplating between microblading and powder brows, I would do some research and try and figure out which method you think would be best for you. And you could always go and talk to someone who is in that field and in that specialty about which one would work best for you. I was contemplating between going to the woman that I went to, or there was this other woman who does microblading and powder brows, and you go there and you talk through what you want, and she kind of gauges based off of what you say, where or what she thinks would be best for you based off of what you want. But I ended up going with just the person who does the powder brows, and I'm so happy with it. I literally am obsessed with them. And when I take my makeup off, I'm like, wait, these just stay? They stay like this? It was amazing. Very, very, very highly recommend it. But anyways, let's get into why we're here today. Today, as you can tell, we're doing a What Would Sav Do? We're back. I like to do these all the time. I was going to say I like to do these at the beginning of the month, but that is not true. I like to do them quite literally all the time. So you guys know, do I even need to let you guys know what a What Would Sav Do is? Not only if you haven't seen the podcast before, but I feel like I feel like I'm not the only one that does these. So it's like what would Sav do? Let's take a second and think about what that is. What would Sav, me, hi, hey, hello, do in your situation? If you want to be a part of the next What Would Sav Do, or really any segment that we do here on My Thoughts Exactly, make sure you go follow the My Thoughts Exactly Instagram page. It's just at My Thoughts Exactly podcast. It's where we always post. So go follow that. But we are going to be jumping right on into it today. Okay, the first one. Hey girl, time and time again, we've talked about Bumble BFF. If you did match with someone, how did you initiate conversations? What were icebreakers, etc.? And how soon did you make plans after starting to talk? Just need help with the conversation portion. Thanks. Okay, this is very true. I don't think I've ever talked about like icebreakers or ways to kind of initiate conversation. Typically when I was on Bumble BFF, I haven't been on it in a while. It's been a couple months, but when I was on it, I think that if I remember right, the conversations would usually start out with like, hey girl, or like, hey, how are you? Like, I don't know. Or what's good, something that you can do is you can go through their pictures. It's pretty much like a dating app, pretty much. It is a dating app, but like just for friends. Go through their pictures, and if there's a spot that they use in their pictures or like that you can recognize, like, oh, I know that restaurant and you like that restaurant, be like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with that restaurant. Like it's one of my favorites. And that's a good icebreaker conversation starter. Or if they have like a bar in their picture and you like that bar, like same thing, you know, kind of being able to bond over common interests and similar things. Or you can simply just ask if they don't have it in their bio already, like how long have you lived here for? I know for Nashville, that's a big one because a lot of people in Nashville aren't necessarily from the city. They're typically come here from elsewhere. So a big topic of conversation in the chats is typically, you know, how long have you been here? When did you move here? Where are you from? Just trying to get some background information. That's always a good conversation starter. If you are in college, you can ask them, you know, what's your major? Or, you know, maybe not what dorm are you in, but like, you know, similar things. I'm trying to think. I didn't really go to college, so I don't really know what there is to know about that. But like, if they're in a sorority, you could be like, what sorority are you in? Or really anything. I think we need to take away the pressure of feeling like we have to have the right conversation and like making sure we're saying things correctly. And this is such a big thing because I think that a lot of times we get in our heads and we're like, oh, I don't want to come off as like too much or not enough. And we like overanalyze and, you know, be very critical of ourselves and how we're presenting ourselves, but just be yourself and just be you. That's all you need to do. But I do understand how sometimes it can be hard not really knowing, you know, what to start off with in conversation. I recommend here, so just bullet pointing this, I recommend going through their bio, reading their little description. A lot of times people will put like, this is what I like to do, or I'm from here, I'm from there, or like, you can catch me doing this, or whatever. If you want, you can take something that they use in their prompts or their bio and start a conversation that way. Or like I said, finding a restaurant or a bar or something, if you can, you know, pinpoint where they are, typically in like one of their pictures. Nashville is pretty easy just because, again, it's a smaller city. It's not a small city. There's a lot of people here, but you typically know the areas and where people are taking pictures. That might sound creepy, but it's not. I think you know what I'm saying. And you can say like, oh, I like that spot, or like, oh, I like that place, or you could just start off with being like, hey, or like, hey, what's up? Typically, I think that can be a little bit boring. So I would advise you to go something that like is more of a conversation starter. But if you're like intimidated by that, just a simple, hey, what's up? Or like, hey, like, you know, you're so pretty, or something like that. A compliment goes a long way. I love your top in that one picture, whatever. A compliment goes a long way. And I think that's always like a nice icebreaker because you're like, oh, you're a girl's girl. We love that. That's a good one. And then as far as when to initiate, you know, a meetup or a hangout or something like that, I really say just based off the flow of the conversation, I wouldn't jump into it right away. I think that a lot of times for the conversations that I've had, it's been, you know, a couple of messages exchanged back and forth, maybe like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, you know, if you ever want to go grab a drink or something, let me know. If you ever want to, you know, go grab dinner, let me know. If you ever want to go on a walk, let me know. If you ever want to go on a hike, let me know. Something like that, I think, is just a good thing to throw out there. I feel like, you know, the good thing with these Bumble BFF apps is, or app singular, is that we're all there for the common goal. We're all there to make more friends. And so don't feel weird about asking someone to hang out. It's quite literally what the point of the app is. And if someone doesn't respond, or if someone is just like blowing you off, that's their problem. It's not yours. Don't let someone make you feel weird about that, because it's quite literally why everyone is on there. So I would just, very casually throw that in there. And and just the more you do it, I think the more conversational it becomes, the less pressure you'll feel, and you just leave it at that. And it's great. So that would be my advice to you. Yeah. Don't overthink it too much, but that's my advice. How to start the conversation for the next step, which is moving in. We've been long distance and are together for 2 years. Help. Okay. This is interesting. So just to give you a little background and just to kind of put my own 2 cents into it, Hayden and I moved in together very quickly. We moved in at for us, it was quickly, or for me, it was quickly, I guess. We moved in after 9 months of dating. And the reason it just kind of worked out the way it did was because he was the one that initiated the conversation. His lease was ending in June and mine was ending in September. And he was just, kind of asking me, what are you going to do once your lease is up? And I was like, oh, I don't really know. And when his lease was up, he moved up to his, he went and stayed with his grandparents for a little bit, moved in with them for the summer. And I would go and visit him and he would come down and visit me. And over time, we just continued to talk about, wanting to be together. And, he basically was like, do you want to move in together? And that was a big, scary jump for me, because when I moved to Nashville, I was very much in my single girl era and just wanted to be like independent and not focus on anything but myself. And then I met Hayden and my whole world changed. And so I would say, here's what I would say to take away the fear out of the conversation and really just make you go into the conversation with confidence, is that if you've been together for 2 years, and especially if you guys are long distance, it would have come up at some point that you guys would want to close the gap of the distance and end the long distance portion of the relationship. And especially if you've been together for 2 years, you have the common goal of being together. You love each other. You want to be together. So I wouldn't be too afraid to be able to open up to your person and basically be like, listen, we've been doing long distance for 2 years. I don't really want to do it anymore. And I want to start the next chapter with you. I think that you just have to be blunt about your feelings and about what you want. I think that at the end of the day, if someone meets you with anything other than like an open conversation, that's a red flag. If they're like, how could you ever possibly bring this up? Like, that is so strange. Like, how could you ever think that that would be the next step? That is weird. That's weird. It's weird behavior. I don't think that that's what's going to happen. I think if I were you, I would initiate the conversation either over dinner, a nice little glass of wine, everyone's comfortable, having a good time. And I would just bring up what's been on your mind, which is the fact that you want to take the next step in the relationship and you want to be able to move in together and start the next chapter of your guys' lives together. You're not asking for, marriage or a ring or anything like that. You're just saying, I want to close the gap on our distance and I would like for us to move in together. You guys have been together long enough where you have that foundation that is there. You guys have been doing the work, and to stay, honestly, to stay together for 2 years with long distance, I feel like that's an accomplishment in and of itself. And it's something that, you guys have been able to do. So I think that it's very normal to be bringing this up. Don't psych yourself out and tell yourself that this is not a normal conversation to have. It very much is. This isn't something that you shouldn't be thinking about. This isn't something that is, totally out of the blue. This is a conversation that you should be comfortable having because this is the person that you love and the person that you've been with for 2 years. So as much as I can't really tell you, how to have the conversation and word for word how it should go, what I can tell you is that you shouldn't be worried to have this conversation because this is the natural progression of how relationships work. And when you've been together for this amount of time, this is typically a lot of times when these conversations tend to happen. And don't psych yourself out thinking that you're crazy or you're bizarre or you are, asking for too much to even have the conversation and start that line of communication and thinking about closing that gap on distance. Because first of all, no one loves a long distance relationship and you don't want to be in that forever. So this conversation is going to happen at some point, whether it's now, in 6 months, in a year. It doesn't really matter. You guys are going to have this conversation at some point. And I know a lot of times we want the other person to bring it up. And a lot of times we want them to kind of have to make that first step and take that initiative because it takes the pressure off of us. But I encourage you to just get that expectation out of your mind and start asking for what you want. Don't wait. There's no reason to wait. There's no reason to just, twiddle your thumbs and have them bring it up, because you might be waiting a lot longer than you could imagine or even want. So take away this expectation that they need to ask and they need to bring it up. You are just as much in this relationship as the other person, and you have every right to bring this up and to ask. So I would just, again, be very open and talk about your feelings and talk about, the fact that you don't want to be in a long distance relationship any longer and you want to take that next step. Again, you're not asking for too much. You're not. So don't let yourself overthink and think that that's possible. And don't worry. I feel like a lot of times, because I remember when Hayden and I had these conversations, he brought it up at first and then we didn't talk about it a lot. It was like he brought it up and then it was like radio silence about it for maybe 2-3 weeks. And I was like, did he not want to bring it up anymore? Or did he change his mind? I didn't know where his head was at. And I was worried to ask, because I was worried that he was going to say, oh, I thought about it and I actually don't want to do that anymore. And for me, that would have been upsetting, because I had already, once he had brought that up, I kind of started envisioning life with him beyond, stepping into the next chapter. And I envisioned living together with him. So if he would come back and say, oh yeah, I thought about it and I think it's too soon, or I thought about it and I don't want that anymore, then yeah, that would have just kind of been a bummer, but I would have gotten over it. But what I wish I could go back and tell myself, because it did kind of make me take a step back and be like, oh no, did he change his mind? I don't know. What's he thinking? And I got worried to ask him. But if I could go back and tell myself, which I ultimately did, just ask him straight up. And he was like, oh yeah, no, I'm still on the same page. But I wish I could go back and tell myself, if he would have come back and said, no, I changed my mind, I don't want to live together anymore, that's the worst thing that could happen. The worst thing that could happen in your case is that he says, no, I don't want to. And then you have the power to decide what you want to do in that moment. And I know we get scared, and I know we, put a lot of pressure on ourselves and on the situation. And oh no, what if they say no? That's the worst thing that they could say. And if they do, then you get to reevaluate kind of where you go from there. And that's scary. And it can feel intimidating, but one step at a time. Take it one step at a time, and don't let the fear of, the possibility of it being a no stop you from asking, because then you're just going to be stuck on this hamster wheel that you obviously want off of. So that's my very long-winded answer, but good luck. Let me know how it goes. I'm sure it is going to go great. Okay. Hey Sav, I'm going to Belmont in the fall from out of state. Any tips on adjusting to Nashville? Okay, this is so exciting. If you don't know, Belmont, which is also my one-year alma mater, I like to always take credit for that. Belmont is a university here in Nashville. It's a great school, and it's a big music school. It's where what I went there for. I went to the school the vocal program at Belmont. I was there for a year. I definitely had a little bit too much fun, and I also me and the school, we didn't mix, and I was not focused enough on school, and I was more focused on just being, living my little freshman college girl life. But anywho, tips on adjusting to Nashville. First of all, you're going to love it. I think you're going to love it, because I think that there is so much to love in this city. Nashville is so amazing. It has so much to offer. And even if you're coming to visit here, for anyone who is listening, or if anyone else is thinking of moving, I will say the same thing. The message is, widespread across the board. There is so much to offer in Nashville. Luckily, Belmont is very central. You're super close to so many great areas. You have the Gulch, 12 South, downtown, all within probably a 5-minute radius of you, 5 to 8 minute radius of you. The campus is so pretty, so pretty. And every time I drive by it, I'm literally in awe and obsessed. Here's what I will say about some of my favorite hotspots for you is 12 South, love. Cutest little place, cutest area, so many amazing restaurants and shops. It definitely does get touristy. It gets touristy everywhere in Nashville, whether you go downtown, the Gulch, 12 South, East Nashville is great. Germantown is great. I would say if you want more local bars and local restaurants, hangout spots, there's some great hikes in Sylvan Park and East Nashville. Some of my favorite restaurants in in the local area to where you'll be at. 12 South, my favorite restaurants. I love the Henry. I think that is amazing. Playdate is really fun. I love Urban Cowboy in East Nashville. So fun. Each little sub-bureau definitely has its own vibe. East Nashville is a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more of, I don't know how you would describe it. It's a little bit more, I don't know. I don't want to say like hippie, but like definitely more edgy. It's a little edgier, but it's very cool. There's some really cool gems over there. Noko is great if you love sushi. That's a really fun restaurant over there. They have some great food. I would say 12 South, again, a little bit touristy. I just love that area. I think it's great. And it's literally so close to you. It's in walking distance from Belmont. East Nashville, you will have to drive. Germantown, you will have to drive. But 12 South is going to be like your hot spot for walking. So like I said, the Henry's great. They have Bar Taco on 12 South. Love Bar Taco. Bar Taco's margaritas, amazing. I know you said you're 18, or you didn't say you're 18, but you said you're going to Belmont. And so I have to assume that you're like around that age. But I will just say the skinny margaritas at Bar Taco are unmatched, but the Henry has such great food. They have these pretzel bites that are quite literally the size of your fist, and I'm obsessed with them. They also just have some really cute shops in there. And then the Gulch also is in walking distance. You can also like scooter down there. I don't do that, but some people do. They have some cute shops and just like walkable areas. There's a lot of hidden gems to be found within Nashville underneath all of the touristy stuff. Also, if you go outside of Nashville, Franklin is the cutest, most idyllic, eclectic little area. It is such a gem. I love Franklin. Also, College Grove is great. Arrington, that area. So many cute little spots around that whole area. It's not just Nashville. And I think that that's something to note too, is like there's Nashville and everyone thinks like, oh, it's just, Nashville and the surrounding areas. Like, no, if you go further south, if you go outside of the city, you will see the most pretty like Hannah Montana movie scene places ever. It's stunning. It's gorgeous. Highly recommend. And there's something for everyone here. Like whether you're into music, like their live music here is insane. Obviously you can find anything, anywhere at any time. You can go listen to live music. It is, it's not, there's no shortage of it here. So if you like it, you're going to love that. Also the shopping is really good. We have great restaurants and everyone here is really nice. And that's something that I, definitely was not expecting moving from California. California people, they're not the nicest. They're not mean, but they don't have that like Southern hospitality. And same with New York. New York is like rough and cut. Like it is cutthroat. There's no Southern hospitality. Here, everyone's nice and warm and loving. This is just like a fun little brunch spot if you want to take a little drive out there. It's called Biscuit Love. It's definitely a little, or no, it's not Biscuit Love. It's Loveless Cafe. That's what it is. If you want like Southern style, like, restaurant, been there for forever. It's this cute little house out in Franklin, adorable. And they have the best, just like Southern style breakfast for like super cheap. It's so good. It's been there for I think like 50 something years or whatever. It's amazing. And the great thing about Nashville, some people would say great, some people would say it's not, is that there's so many things that are up and coming here, so many new developments, so many new restaurants that are coming in, so many new like happening spots. And so definitely take advantage of that. You will be able to do a lot here. And so I'm so excited for you. You're going to have so much fun and welcome to Nashville. That's amazing. I'm so excited for you. Okay, moving on. Let's let me get back to where I was. Okay. What if someone you love makes fun of something you're passionate about? What would Sav do? I think that it's multi-layered for me with this one. First of all, I think that when it comes to something you're passionate about, obviously you become protective of it. You become defensive of it because that's something that you care about. You put your heart and soul into, whether it's a hobby, a career, an interest, anything that it is. When you are passionate about something, you're going to want to throw your all into it. And, with that becomes you putting like a little protective bubble around it. And anyone who tries to pop that or make fun of it, you're going to get defensive because, why wouldn't you? I think the first thing to remember is that not everyone is going to understand or agree or like what you're passionate about. And so there does have to be a level of thick skin to just kind of be able to brush that off, because at the end of the day, it does not matter what anyone says to you about something that you're passionate about. If you are passionate enough about something, other people's, background noise and peanut gallery talk, you got to be able to brush it off, and you got to be able to just kick it to the curb, because this is what you love and this is what you're passionate about. And not everyone is going to have that same alignment with you a lot of times. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that you are doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that you can't be passionate about that. It doesn't mean that you can't, still be 100% into what you're into. But also with that comes, other people's opinions, and other people are going to talk, and other people are going to have opinions. And you need to be able to know that no matter what anyone says, I'm still going to do this, and I'm still going to be passionate about this. I'm still going to put my all into this because I care about it. And that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. When I started social media, for example, this is a perfect example. When I started, you don't think people talked? You don't think I got shit for it? Oh my God, I got so much shit for it. So much shit for being on social media. So much background noise. So many people made fun of me. But guess what they're doing now? They're keeping their mouth shut. That's the beauty of it. So here's what I will tell you. It doesn't make it right that they're, making fun. No, it doesn't. Does it mean that they are right? No, it doesn't. What it means is that they are bored or insecure or just downright, again, dumb, about what it is that you're passionate about. But you can't let anyone else's opinion change your course. You can't let it stray you from what you have an end goal of or what you're passionate about. I think that that's where, there's two parts to this. The first part is, does it make it right? Does it make it, what do you do in that situation? You don't do anything. If it's someone that you love, that does make it a little harder, because obviously it's not just like the background noise of people that don't matter. If it's someone that you actually care about and someone who is in your life consistently that is hurting your feelings about something, then that's when you need to stand up for yourself and be like, hey, listen, I know you don't get this, but I do. I know you don't care about this, but I do. And I don't make fun of the shit that you like. I expect you to be supportive of me as well. You don't have to like what I'm doing, but I expect you as someone who loves me to be supportive of me. And if you can't, then I would rather you just not say anything at all. And you have to draw the line in the sand. You have to create a boundary if that's the way that it's going to be. And it's hard. We want the people that we love to be totally on board with what we love as well, because we want to share that with them, and we want to have conversation about it and bring them into what we're into, and, be able to show them that world. But sometimes it's not like that. And even though that sucks, it's okay. But you do have to draw a boundary and say, you know what, if you cannot be supportive of me in this, if you cannot, just appreciate that I'm passionate about something, then you need to just not bring it up to me, because it's not okay for you to try and tear down the things that I love, because I don't do that to you. I love you and I want you to be happy in life, and I would appreciate if you could give me the same respect with that. And I think that that's a very, very fair boundary to have. If it's just, people who are in their own little world and just, want to talk shit just to talk shit, that's when you have to brush it off. But when it is someone who you care about and someone who's in your life and someone that you love, then you have to create a line in the sand and be like, you know what, as much as it hurts me that you're not supportive of me through this journey, and it doesn't feel like you're happy for me in this, if you can't be, I would just appreciate that you just don't say anything. And a lot of times when you meet people with not a huge reaction, not like oh my God, why aren't you so, not yelling, not screaming, not throwing a fit or a tantrum. When you meet people with just a harsh boundary, it really makes them take a step back and think and be like, oh, wow, okay, well, I guess I kind of struck a nerve or struck a chord. And the appropriate response that the other person should have is, oh shit, I don't want you to feel that way. I don't want to hurt you. I love you. And of course I support you, and I'm sorry. And I didn't mean that. And, of course I want you to be happy, and, I'm happy that you're passionate about things, and I want to be supportive of that, for you and through this journey. That is the appropriate response. But if you're not met with that, then again, the line just has to be there. And that's just, I think, sometimes what has to happen. So my response after, again, very long-winded today, I have a lot to say, but just in life, not everyone's going to agree with your passions. Not everyone's going to like the same things that you do, and not everyone's going to be supportive. It's one of the harsh truths of life. But if it's people that don't matter, then kick them to the curb. If it's someone who does matter, then you have to draw a boundary. You have to be very clear that this is not something that you find funny. You know, this is something that you love, and this is something that you are passionate about, and you would appreciate some respect around that. And it has to be drawn in the sand. And then their reaction to that is going to be telling of how you proceed. So hopefully that made sense. I feel like I just kind of rambled a lot. Okay, next one. I distanced myself from a toxic friend. Now my friend group is no longer inviting me out. Well, it sounds like you dodged a bullet. There is not a world that exists where I would like to have toxic fake friends rather than, or a lot of toxic fake friends rather than no friends at all. I think that you have done a big spring cleaning regarding your friendships. And I know that it's hard because when you distance yourself from one friend and you feel like maybe you would have other people to fall back to, or you would have other friends within your friend group to be able to reach out, and then they drop you and it's just kind of like a WTF moment, and what is this? And this is not what I was expecting. That's very hard, but clearly people are showing their true colors to you. And if they're showing your true colors to you, you have to be able to take people's actions at face value and be like, okay, we clearly don't have the friendship that I thought we all did, and keep it moving. I know it's hard and I know that sucks, and losing friends is really, really, really challenging. I don't want to minimize that. Friends are a form of relationships that we have as humans, and it's a connection that we have, and to not be able to continue, when you end that sort of connection, it really is ending a relationship. It's not to, the extent of a romantic relationship, but when you're that close with someone or that close with a group of friends, yeah, that does have, its own set of challenges and own set of adversities that you have to face. There's two options here. The options are you either reach out to whoever you feel you're closest with in the friend group and say, you know what, I don't really know what's happening. You guys know that I was having an issue with, let's say her name is, I don't know, Maddie. You guys know that I was having an issue with Maddie, and I didn't expect that my issue with her to then trickle over to me losing all of you, and it's hurtful to me. Feel free to definitely vocalize that if that's something you feel like you want to do and something that would make you feel better. But also, I think that you're in every right to just wipe your hands of this and keep it moving. I think that when people show you who they are, you have to believe them. And if they're all willing to drop you at the drop of a dime because you are distancing yourself from a toxic friend, that says a lot more about them than it does about you. So don't feel like you're in the wrong about this because you set a boundary and you did something that was healthy for you, and you walked away from a toxic situation and a toxic friendship. If you feel like it would make you feel better to maybe get some answers or have some sort of a conversation with anyone else in that friend group, then I would reach out to them for sure. And I would just say, listen, I don't know what's going on, but I'm very hurt by how this is all played out. And then you can kind of go from there. But also, I just want to, caution you and advise you that they were very quick to clearly distance themselves from you. So if they are so quick to be able to what seems to be easily distance themselves from you, do not chase them. Do not chase them. This is, again, when you look at friendships and, the toxicity that can come from negative friendships and toxic people in your life, you don't want to chase that. This could be the biggest blessing in disguise for you, to be able to move forward and find new friends who are going to not be unhealthy or not be toxic towards you. It's hard because when you distance yourself from one person, you don't expect it to be, this entire group that goes as well. But don't chase after people. That goes for friendships and relationships. Do not chase. Do not chase. Do not, run after them and be like, wait, what happened? And what about me? And no. When someone shows you what you mean to them, you have to believe that. You have to take that for face value, and do not mess around with that. Do not give anyone the opportunity to tell you twice that they do not want you in their life. And so for your sake, if it would make you feel better to reach out, I would do that. But if you're reaching out only for the sake of wanting to be back in the friend group because you just don't want to be alone, I would not do that. I would challenge yourself in that way to not reach back out to them, because clearly they have, they've drawn a boundary. They've taken a step back. And I would, if I were you, I would take that seriously. And so I think it just depends on what your motive is or would be in reaching out, that I would, figure out what my next steps would be. I'm sorry you're going through that. And I don't mean to, minimize friendship, and ending a friendship and all of that. I know it's a big deal. I know it hurts. And I know that when you feel like you found your people and you found your group, when that goes away, it's like, well, what do I do now? Like, what do I do? I've had that feeling many, many, many times. I've been there, done that with the friendship stuff, and it sucks, but you're going to be okay. It will be okay. Hey Sav, I was diagnosed with OCD at 11 years old, and as of around September of 2022, I've been going through contamination OCD, basically the fear of germs. I'm not afraid of getting sick, but more so the feeling of being dirty. I shower nightly, but during the day, I have a problem with the feeling of being contaminated. I've got a 7-month-old son who gets a bath every night, and so far, things have been all right. However, not sure how things will look in the future if and when he starts crawling. I associate the floor with being really dirty and contaminated. My fear is being contaminated with germs on the floor, even though my husband and I don't wear our shoes in the house. I know some people sit on their floors, especially with kids, but it's unsettling to me. I've been to therapy in the past for my contamination OCD and have gotten better in some areas, but it hasn't cured all of it. Any advice, suggestion, or how to go about this? Okay. First of all, I feel like I need to put a disclaimer that everyone knows already, but I am not a doctor. I'm not a doctor, and this, I can give you my suggestion and I can give you, my thoughts on this, but I do want it to be very clear that I am in no way giving any sort of medical opinion or advice or anything like that. And I think you know that as well. First things first is I think it's really great that you've been going to therapy over this, and I would continue to do that. That would be my biggest piece of advice, is continuing to go and talk to someone just through all of this, because I think that, you're not alone in this feeling. You're not alone in having this. And I think that going to someone who is able to give you that medical professional help and talk through this with you and give you more suggestions, more tips, more advice, and be able to talk through it more with you on a deeper level, and you're able to, have more of a conversation, is super helpful, especially leading up to, your son crawling and walking and all of those things. I think it would be really, really great to be able to communicate that with someone and kind of gear up for that time and, almost prepare yourself. I feel like that would be really great. I've loved therapy in the past for a boatload of other reasons, but I know that for me personally, like, anxiety is huge, and anxiety for really anything, whether it's in the future or something I'm dealing with currently. So being able to talk to someone, especially about things about, worrying about the future and, oh, what if this happens? And, for me, being able to talk through that and getting tips and suggestions on how to cope has always been super, super helpful. So that would be the biggest, first piece of advice that I would give, is just to continue doing that if you can. Everyone else can also sound off in the comments with any other suggestions that they have as well. The first thing that kind of comes to mind if I'm thinking about like tips and tricks is, I know, for me personally, I've never talked about this because it's not my story to tell, but there are family members that I have that, do have OCD, and there are little ways and little things that it's not contamination OCD, but they do have, different ways of coping. So I've just been able to, see through watching them really how they handle it. When it comes to the floor and the floor being dirty, if I were you, maybe one of the things that I would do is I would have a designated blanket that, every day goes on the floor or goes in the area, whether it's a playpen, so it's a blocked off area that your son is able to crawl in, or a blocked off area, or putting a big blanket down, like one of those really big extra large ones that maybe you wash on a consistent schedule, so you feel more comfortable with putting it on the floor and having that kind of be like the designated blanket for that. And it's also putting a barrier between you and the actual floor itself, and you'll know that it's clean and you can sit on it. And as your son is walking and crawling and all of those things, like having a designated area where you can feel comfortable in your mind knowing that like this area is clean. Again, I think the biggest thing that I would recommend for you, though, is just to continue to talk through all of these things with someone, continue doing research online. I'm sure that there's a bunch of articles online with people who have contamination OCD, and people who have been through, what you're going through and are able to give you good tips. I'm sure there's research articles. I'm sure there's YouTube videos, being able to see how other people have coped has always helped me with my anxiety in particular, knowing, okay, I'm not alone, but this is how people in my situation have dealt with things, or this is what they tell themselves and it helps them. So that's what I would do if I were you. I would continue talking to someone. I would do your own independent research. That way you're able to see how other people are, going about dealing with this as well. And I mean, the blanket idea is just kind of the first thing that comes to top of mind when I think of just little suggestions that I could give, but I don't want to give too many because I feel like I don't know enough details to give I don't want to say anything wrong. I guess I don't want to say something that maybe is just like not right, or say something where you're just, you're like, no, why would I do that? So I think that to me, the blanket idea is like the first thing that I can think of because it breaks the barrier between you and the floor, and being able to like wash that consistently and use that as like a clean space. Maybe that would help you mentally, being able to almost like compartmentalize, but maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. But I want you to know that you're not alone in how you feel about this. I've had conversations with other people who have similar thoughts and they have the contamination OCD. I've actually, now that I'm thinking about it and I'm taking a second, I do have someone in my family who has the same thing. Actually, I know I said I didn't, but I was thinking of someone else in my family who suffers from OCD in a different aspect. But now that I'm even thinking more about it, I do have someone in my family that deals with contamination OCD. They take their shoes off before they get into the house. They have everyone else take the shoes off before they get into the house. They're very detailed when it comes to mopping and vacuuming the floor. They do it religiously, and it's something that they take very seriously. And so I think that just knowing that you're not alone in that, and knowing that there are other people out there that are dealing with the same thing that you are, and being able to do research on your own about, what could possibly help you as you move forward in the future, and having a young child and all of those things. So just know that you're not alone, and that there are answers out there. And I'm sure there's many suggestions online and through talking to someone to figure out how to properly navigate through this. My sister-in-law wants me to help plan a surprise birthday party for my sister, but she's making it all about herself. What would Sav do? Okay, well, if I were you, I guess it just depends. If I had a sister-in-law who wanted to plan a birthday party for my sister and she kept making it all about herself, I would just start kind of taking over, because in a way, like, it is your sister. So I wouldn't be afraid to put my foot down. I'd be like, no, we're not doing that, because my sister doesn't like that. My sister likes this. Like, I don't care if you like, red velvet cake. My sister likes chocolate cake. Like, I'm not getting her red velvet just because you like it. Like, my sister likes chocolate. It's her birthday. We're doing chocolate cake. I think that this is when we just need to start putting our foot down a little bit more, and not let people come in and just have, their ideas and start controlling the situation and controlling the narrative. Like, no, like, you need to put your foot down in this situation, because think about it. If the roles were reversed, if it was your sister and the sister-in-law and they were planning a birthday for you, what would your sister do? Would she confront the sister-in-law? Would she kind of just like, throw her hands in the air and just say, whatever, you deal with it? How would you want your sister to go about it? I guess is the way that I am trying to frame this. And I know my sisters in particular would definitely kind of put their foot down at a certain point. They would let it go on for a little bit, but at a certain point they would be like, okay, listen, like, we're not doing that. And it doesn't have to be this crazy thing. It doesn't have to be drama. It doesn't have to be major confrontation. But I do think that if it is getting out of hand, then you need to start, offering alternate suggestions. And if you bring up suggestions that your sister loves and she's like, no, I don't like that. Again, I want to do something like different. Just be like, well, it is her birthday and this is what she likes. And like, I know my sister. You can't really argue that. And if she does try to, then that's really insane. But I think that if I were you, I would just try and take the reins a little bit as much as you can. I know it's probably hard, but try and take the reins a little bit. And if she still makes it impossible, then I would really put your foot down. How to not be super anxious in a new and healthy relationship. 4 months together so far. What would Sav do? First of all, congratulations. That's super exciting. I can totally relate to this. I remember when Hayden and I first got together, I remember it was probably around the same time, actually, like the 4-month mark. I think I told him I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, because I was so used to, in previous relationships, things going wrong, being cheated on, lied to, the whole thing. So I told Hayden, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. And he was actually offended by that. He was like, why would you say that? Like, things are going so well. And I was like, well, based off of previous history, like, things do go wrong. And so I'm trying to brace myself for that. It's very normal after going through a history of toxic relationships or bad relationships to guard yourself and to caution yourself, to proceed with caution going forward. What I will tell you, and something I wish I could go back and tell myself, is that you don't always have to carry the armor. You can put the armor down. You don't always have to have a shield in front of you. You don't always have to have this force field in front of you to try and block you from anything that you could potentially be scared of. The fact of the matter is that we don't know what's going to happen in the future. If the relationship goes great, amazing. If it ends, okay. Guess what? You've been through it before. You can do it again. But what I don't want is you almost taking away the experience of a fun, new, healthy relationship, taking that experience away from you because you're so scared of the what ifs, and you're taking yourself out of an experience that you're actually having a lot of fun in. You've said it yourself. You're enjoying the space that you're in. You're enjoying this time. You're enjoying where you're at with this new relationship. So if I were you, I know it's hard. Trust me, I've been there. It's way easier said than done, but I would find a way to convince yourself that, and really just remind yourself that you're allowed to be in a healthy relationship. You deserve to be in a healthy relationship. And this very well is proving to be it. We have to take people's actions at face value. And if someone is treating you right, and if you are in a happy relationship and it's healthy and you are, feeling good about it, allow yourself to feel that. Don't block yourself from that, because you're going to, you're never going to be fully in it. You're never going to fully allow yourself to be immersed in this if you're always, waiting for the other shoe to drop and like always proceeding with caution. Again, it's normal, it's natural, it's your, defense mechanism. But at the same time, I just don't want that to stop you from being able to experience what a happy, healthy relationship is. I think what could make you feel better is communicating to your partner and just saying, listen, I have a lot of anxiety right now because, I really like you and I really like where this is going, and I'm just nervous. I'm nervous about the potential of what could happen. I'm nervous about getting hurt. Everyone is scared to get hurt. So when you communicate that, that is a universal feeling because everyone is afraid of that. No one wants to get hurt. So having that conversation could potentially help you and make you feel like everything is out in the open and make you feel like you have healthy communication. And let's say you already have done that and you're just anxious. Again, that's normal, but don't let the anxiety stop you from being able to experience a relationship that you deserve. So just try and remind yourself that you deserve this. This is a good thing and you deserve good things. So that's what I will say to you. I have been yapping your guys' ear off. We are at like 50 minutes of recording this. We've been talking for a long time. So I'm going to end it here. We will conclude this next week or in the following weeks to come. I have a couple different episodes I want to share with you guys. But with that being said, you guys, that's going to be all for me today. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of My Thoughts Exactly. Again, if you're new here, hi, my name is Savannah. I'm your host. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. That way you never miss an episode. We post weekly here every single Friday. You're not going to want to miss it. I'll be back next week with a brand new one for you guys, and I'll see you then. Bye, guys.